Welcome back to the Green Workbench. So this old upright piano, made by the Star Piano Company in Richmond, Indiana, is going to turn into a theater prop. So I am going to take out the guts, basically remove all the metal, the strings, so that it is not so heavy and we can easily use it. So if this hurts your musical soul, then I'm sorry, and you don't need to continue watching. It's in pretty bad shape, hasn't been used for years. Now it's going to get some use, and it is what it is. So first step is I need to take all of the panels off so I can get access to the inside. So this front panel is designed to just move forward so that sheet music doesn't fall off. So I've taken off the top brackets, and now I have to get in and undo the hinges at the bottom and reach in to do that. All right, got that front part off. And I'm going to disconnect the pedals and go from there. All right, I'm going to undo these caps. Oh, maybe I have to get a wrench for that one. So there's 4 of them, and that's, I don't know all the names of the parts, but that's holding all of the hammers. So those 4 cap nuts held in the entire hammer assembly. So all I had to do was pull it out and lift it up, and it came right out. And that's not super heavy, so that was perfect. And there it is. All right, so I'm just taking out bolts and screws. These big old lag bolts were up top. These lag screws at the sides. I'm just basically taking off all of the screws on the face. Was hoping I don't have to take off the strings. I want to keep those attached if possible, but I may have to. Okay, I got all of the screws out. This one down here in the corner, I can't get it all the way out, but it's out of the wood. And then there are 2 lag anchors. You can see it right here. So I tried to back it out, but the lag going into the back brace on the other side is much bigger. So you can't thread it out, and it actually cracked the brass. So I'm going to have to work on that a little bit, figure out there's 2 of those, and I think that's all that is holding it in. So once I can get those 2, hopefully I should be able to pull it out. But we'll see. I'm going to do a little bit more research to figure out the best way to do it. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to get some help because it's heavy. All right, so this is something I figured out. You see all of these pins here. So the strings are tight against these pins, and the pins are kind of bent. And so the strings are actually helping to hold the harp, which is the metal part, up. So I need to loosen every string and disconnect it from these pins, and I don't know what they're called. So I know you can buy a special socket for piano, but I don't do this enough that it's worth buying. I'm just going to have to do it by hand. It only takes 1 or 2 turns per string to loosen it. So I'll loosen all the strings and then pop them off these pins, and that should help remove the harp from the back, the wooden soundboard in the back. I didn't want to have to break anything, but this piece is covered by the lid, and it's keeping the harp in. So it had this molding. So I just broke it off. So now the harp is actually showing, and I'll be able to start prying. Again, it's not going to show, and remember, this is to become a theater prop. So it doesn't matter. Just was kind of painful to have to break it. All right, so it turned out when I kind of wedged this open, all of these pins holding the strings are go in through behind the brass or behind the harp. So they all have to come out in order for the harp to be able to pull out. So again, using the 1/4 inch star socket and an adapter, instead of doing it by hand, loosen them enough to pull the strings. Make sure you're wearing gloves because they will kind of snap you in the arm. But then once you get them off, these pins have a really fine thread, and you can't actually thread them all the way out. You actually have to just kind of work them out. And they pop out. So I'm gonna have to take every one of them out. All right, I have pulled 90 tuning pins, and that's just the first section. So that's a major pain. Got to twist and pull each one by hand, but we'll keep going. All right, so what I've discovered, which seems obvious now, but not knowing how a piano is put together, essentially it's built from back to front. So the back is built, and then they put these massive lug bolts in. So you can see it's a lug on one side, and the other side it's a bolt. So that went in here. And then through this back piece, through a hole in the harp, the metal heavy harp, which was then bolted down. And there were 2 of those. And then all of the other screws and everything that I've taken out were put in. So the only way to take the harp out is to do it in reverse, but I can't do that because that would require me to take apart the keyboard. Okay, you can see this hole right here. That's where that lug and bolt came through, and then it was screwed tight. And then all of the other screws put on. So the only way I was able to get that out, as you saw in the back, is I had to cut it out. Cut it out and then pull it through. So now my harp is loose. It is not connected to anything, but there's no way for me to get it out in one piece. You can see that little shelf right there. That's keeping me from just pulling it out straight. So I can't pull it up, and I can't go down unless I take the entire bottom off, which I don't want to do because I want to keep the pedals. Okay, so I learned a little bit more. I put the piano down on its back to try to pull it out, the harp out, and I found out that the bottom could be unscrewed. So I unscrewed the bottom so the harp can come out of the bottom instead of having to cut it in half. So that's great news. I already ground off those little shelves there, but that's okay. So this piece that went from the bottom all the way to the top, this is where the strings were connected. I had to pry it off, otherwise there wasn't enough room to pull the harp out. So I did have to do a little bit more demolition, but now we're just sliding the harp out a little bit at a time. So I was wrong again. because of the sticks out here, it won't just pull out. So I ended up cutting and breaking off the bottom, and then I'll slide the top out through the top. There's just no way to keep it in one piece. And you'll notice that I screwed the bottom back in, so I have working pedals with tension. And then otherwise, the harp is now out. I did have to cut it in half. I learned as I went. Something looked like it was going to work, and then it didn't, so I had to change tact. And fortunately, it was the hard way. It was the only way to really get it out of here. The piano was still hefty, still solid, but it's a lot lighter now. But I'm not worried about using it on stage and having people sit on it and dance on it and everything. It has plenty of heft. So start stripping paint.
So I know you can't tell because this video is all put together, but it's actually been a long time since I was able to work on the piano. The show got canceled or postponed last year, but it's on again this year, so I'm back at it. So I finally got it all sanded and put back together. The top, I took the hinges off and just screwed it down so that it can be sat upon, even danced on. And then I'm using a teak oil for the finish. I don't want a shiny finish. I want it to look like an old studio piano. You can tell the difference here between the front and top and this side that has not been oiled yet. It actually looks really, really good, the mahogany veneer with this teak oil. So we'll continue to get that done. Once that's finished, it'll be time to put some new casters on the bottom.
All right, everyone. This is the finished piano. I didn't do a video of me putting on the casters, but basically what I did, and you can kind of see it down here, is I put a piece of plywood across the bottom there so that the casters had some new solid wood to drill into and to screw into to make them a little more secure, but it worked really well. You can see here our actor was able to stand on the keys, and he stood and sat on the top and really didn't have to worry about anything but his choreography during the show. It looked great on stage. It looked like the old piano that we wanted it to look like, and this piano was once just sitting in a garage, and it was going to just get dusty and rot away and never be used again. We brought it new life, even though it's no longer as a musical instrument. It is now a theater prop, and we will use it often. A lot of shows use pianos. We'll rent it out to other theater companies for them to use. So it worked out really well. It's so much lighter to push on and off the stage, so much easier to move around. You don't have to worry about ruining the keys or the strings. So taking out the harp and the strings made a huge difference. And from the audience, it still looks like a fully functioning piano. So it was a lot of fun to do, a lot of fun to use. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you are just angry that I quote unquote destroyed a musical instrument, don't bother leaving those comments. Not interested. I did this for a purpose, and that's not going to change. So it worked really well for what I did it for. Hopefully, if you are looking into doing the same thing, you'll learn something. You can avoid some of the mistakes I made, especially getting the harp out. I learned a lot doing that, and I will catch you next time on the Green Workbench. Thanks for watching.